Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to David Galata, Book Dreamer. And I want to thank everyone who checked out the video from last week. That was great. Thank you all. Really, really appreciate the support. And please spread the word. That'd be fantastic. I'm going to be doing a little bit of the same today, except I'm going to be reading aloud from Clockmaker. This book has become very popular in my local region, and it's also doing well. So I'm really pleased with it. So I figured I would read just a random excerpt, and I just picked a spot, and you know, I said, why not? Just a couple of pages. This shouldn't be too long, so we'll see how it goes. All right, you ready? I hope I am. All right, here we go. More clumps of soft debris fell around him in the darkness. All of it was pastel-colored, crumbly material and strands of silky fiber. Clockmaker squirmed his body around, and he struggled to get his arms free of Sprill's tight grip on him. The jester's screaming had risen to the pitch of a tea kettle on full boil, and Clockmaker's ears rang in response to it. He shook himself violently, and the spindly, boneless arms of Sprill tightened up even further. Clockmaker was having difficulty breathing, and he thrust his head back, banging it into something hard yet rubbery. The shrieking turned into a cry of pain. "Ow, ow, ow! Oh, my puns and springs, that hurt! What is this? What's happening? What is that? What?" Clockmaker shouted over all the frightened jesters' panicking questions. "Shut up! Stop screaming! Let go of me! At least don't grip me so hard! I can't breathe!" The trembling limbs that were wrapped around him like the strings on a large roast began to loosen up, but remained in place. Clockmaker called out, "Thank you! This must be the next world, Sprill. I don't know what anything is. I can't answer your questions as I've never been here before. This place is not Everpath, nor is it Tunnel Nest. This is someplace else, with its own rules and ways of doing things. We have to figure it all out from scratch, and we need your help." Sprill's voice was very shaky as he replied, "My help? My help? What can I do? I'm no wizard such as you. I'm not used to this." Clockmaker snapped back. "You think I am? Okay, here's a little advice. Just accept whatever you see as real, and don't panic. Think. Use that jester's sense of humor. Look around, and if you can't do that, then close your eyes and just try to relax." Sprill whimpered back, "I can't close my eyes. If they go dark, it means I'm dead. The first time you slept gave me a real scare, you know. How would I be able to explain to Tinzu that his latest guest had expired in my cell?" Clockmaker's reply was cut off by a raucous yell to his left. We fly now! We are flying, yes? This is so much fun, friend Clockmaker. Hello, friend Sprill. You are very good at jumping. Our sorcerer cannot expire. He has not enough limbs for that." Clockmaker almost cheered with relief, and shouted towards her, "Huntress, I'm so very glad to see you awake. We're not falling very fast, so I don't think we're in immediate danger, but once we hit the ground we could be in trouble." Huntress twisted her long, snake-like neck to look at him. "That was a very rough journey from Saltgears, worse than from my homeworld, yes? The ground looks soft to me. Let us catch some of these bits flying with us, and take a look." Sprill mumbled in Clockmaker's ear, "So, you're not used to this, eh?" "Of course not. No experience at all." Ignoring the jester's snide comment, Clockmaker watched as Huntress spread out her 6 limbs and began to slow down. All the little males in her belt were chirping loudly, squirming inside their nets upon her belt. Clockmaker mimicked her actions, and his fall became increasingly gentle. Huntress rolled in the air and moved towards him, then caught a hold of his leg with one of her middle arms. Clockmaker placed his hand upon her upper shoulder, and they slowed down even more. Sprill began to untangle his limbs, and attempted to do the same, but he rolled off Clockmaker's back with a screech of terror. The jester snatched at his right arm, squeezing it tightly, and Clockmaker did his best to pull the Soft Gears native in closer. Huntress called out, "Sprill tried to climb between us. Use your tentacles to keep in place, but hold your body in the middle." Sprill desperately scrambled back on top of Clockmaker and reached out for Huntress. The jester stretched one of his skinny arms towards her, then wrapped it around her upper arm, just above Clockmaker's hand. Slowly and with much trepidation, Sprill did as Huntress had suggested, and their fall became the speed of a modest walk. Huffing and puffing, the jester declared, "Gears and pulleys! This is not the way to travel. What did you call it, oh magenta warrior from another world?" Huntress smiled at the jester. "Thank you. You smell nice, too. This is called flying. My males do it whenever they can. They have wings, yes? We do not. I can see why they enjoy it so much. Friend Sorcerer, we are getting closer to the ground, but it does not look like anything I have seen before. I shall look behind us to see where we came from." Clockmaker grinned. "That's an excellent idea. Sprill, can you do the same? My neck is not so flexible, so I will study our destination some more." He focused his attention to the ground below him and saw that it was still coming at them, but at a very gentle pace. The tiny lights were still moving around in the woolly ground, sometimes clustering together, at other times as individual glimmers that lit the area around them. The ground was looking more three-dimensional, and he could see that the surface was deep with no sign of a bottom. Floating debris landed on the upper reaches below him and clumped together. Sometimes larger gatherings of material would fall further into the nest of cobwebs and flaky bits. Everything was colored in pale shades and a variety of hues, but nothing bright or vibrant except for the moving lights. Huntress turned to him and said, "Friend Clockmaker, there is a small glow behind us, and many things seem to be falling from it. Webs, ash, and pieces of something else that looks like bits of your outer coverings. The world is wrapped around the glowing area. I think this place is a hollow ball, like an old mushroom cap." Clockmaker nodded as he replied, "Then we are all heading in the right direction, I hope. Right now, I'm assuming that everything here comes from that glow you're talking about. We need to find the exit to this world, and I think we'll find it below us. In any case, we don't have much choice, unless either of you have wings that you didn't tell me about." Sprill shouted, "Great springs! I certainly hope not." Huntress replied, "I am female, as I keep telling you. Only males have wings, except for you, friend Clockmaker. Did you lose them in a fight?" He sighed deeply and shook his head. "No, I've never had wings. Never mind all that. We're getting close, so we'd all better pay attention to our landing. See if you can find something to grab hold of." Sprill cried out, "I'm not grabbing anything but the two of you. I don't even have words for what I'm seeing around here. Not a gear in sight." The further they fell, the more dust, ash, and debris filled the air. It swirled with them along their path, and as Clockmaker reached for a curled spire of cobweb, it fell apart in his hands, just like the ones he found in the corners of his old home. They passed straight through a clump of soft flakes and webbing. Huntress had been right. The larger patches of colored material did remind Clockmaker of cloth, but it was fragile and crumbled at his touch. Within a few seconds, the three of them were covered in dust, cobwebs, and bits of material. Sprill began wailing again as Huntress coughed and gagged. Clockmaker did his best to keep his mouth closed, but the debris went into his eyes and up his nose, forcing his lips open so that he could breathe. The taste of burnt sugar and moldy bread filled his mouth, and he did his best to spit the dry, dusty material out before he choked. So there we have it, just a little bit of a taste of Clockmaker, which, yes, is a strange tale. I admit it. I wrote a bit of an odd tale with Clockmaker. Since it's a short book, it's also a short little demo there. But I hope that was entertaining for you. It was certainly entertaining to write it. I think that next week we'll do just a little tiny thing like we did today for Favored Son. Although I believe I had said before that I was going to be doing this in order of publication. I did. That's right. I did. So next week will be Veil of Strife, which is the second book of the Crucible Spirals trilogy. Following that will be Painful Medicine, which is the conclusion to the Crucible Spirals trilogy. And we'll move on to Tales in the Age of Unity, and then Favored Son and Stellar Trespassers. It's odd for me. I did not expect to write so many novels. My original intentions when beginning this journey was simply to write a single book, Crew of Ganges. And it was supposed to represent a very long and very in-depth dream that I had had many, many, many years ago that's been cooking in my brain. Couldn't really find a way of, making a series of paintings out of it. So I eventually, said, fine, let me do this, and started typing it out. Crew of Ganges ended up being too big, and I ended up making a trilogy out of it, the Crucible Spirals, and I was having so much fun with that. I wrote Clockmaker while I was working on the last two books of the trilogy. And this one is based on, again, dreams. Hence David Galata, Book Dreamer. So this was based on 8 separate dreams that have been linked together with a story. And that story is basically about Clockmaker, who becomes lost between the realms of reality and is trying to find his way home to his universe called Everpath. And he has some companions that he picks up on the way. He has a shadow that's been hunting him this entire time. In fact, it's what starts the stories. He is being hunted by a shadow that threatens to eat him. And he is going from one world or one dream to another. And I finished that, and people seemed to really enjoy it. People were really enthusiastic about Crew of Ganges, but they were also very, very enthusiastic about Clockmaker, although that came up a little later on. Clockmaker ended up gaining a lot of steam when I started the book signings last year. So this is what's been going on. I did not actually get into fully publishing until I had the entire first trilogy written. I had the manuscripts for them all written up, and while the first one ended up being finished, though I'd like to kind of re-edit it and go through it again. I have found some bits and errors in there. Of course, every book I read, I find errors. I mean, every single book I read, I find errors. That's just the nature of the beast, folks. Just the way it is. A human being wrote this. I think even if an AI wrote it, there would be errors. English is a strange language. Quite honest. So at that point, once I had the trilogy and Clockmaker done, I ended up having yet more very intense dreams and started writing Favored Son and Tales in the Age of Unity, which is also dream-based, but there I took the themes of certain dreams and put them into the terraforming vessel Ganges as almost like a prequel to the trilogy. Takes place beforehand during the Age of Unity. So now I'm working on the second book of the second trilogy, which starts with Stellar Trespassers and is going into Siege of Ganges. And I'm also working on Sorcerer, which follows Clockmaker here. So, yeah, I'm finding I have a lot to say. I'm finding I have a lot to write. So I'm going to continue doing that. So yeah, so next week it's going to be Veil of Strife. That should be a lot of fun. I'm going to pick out interesting snippet from that. No more than, 3 or 4 pages, because, I don't want these going on because I could go on for hours, as you can obviously tell. So thank you again for watching. Please do subscribe, and I hope to hear from you, hear comments, and take a look and see who's watching. And please do enjoy and spread the word about David Galotta Book Dreamer. All right, folks, you take care, and I'll see you next week, and thank you.